So my topic today is drug policies and mass incarceration. I'm pretty sure that most of you or all of you know about the concern and the attention that it's been given to drug use and drug-related crimes. In the past and today, drug abuse has been given a lot of attention by the public and the government, and many policies have been made to try to deal with this problem. A little bit of background information. The problem of drugs has started to gain more attention by the public and the government as a public concern during the 1960s, and leading to the declaration to the war on drugs by Nixon in the 1970s. My main claim today is that the current drug policy making leads to mass incarceration rather than reducing crime. Mass incarceration is the term used to describe the high rates of imprisonment. I'm supporting my claim with two supporting claims. The first one is the policies are made to benefit those who support the policies or those who make the policies. The attention that is given to crime by the media and the growing public concern makes politicians and organizations want to treat this as a main concern of interest on the public. Therefore, they use it to gain support for when they are running for office. To do something and going tough on crime leads many people to want harsher policies and make laws to control the use of drugs and drug-related crimes. According to the New York Times, many politicians continue to fear appearing to be soft on crime, even when there is no evidence that imprisoning more people has reduced crime by more than a small amount. So many politicians use this to be soft on crime. They use it as an excuse to run for office, which they know that it will gain them a lot of support from people, especially those who have been affected by the problem of drugs. My second supporting claim is that policies focus on punishing those who commit crime rather than in the prevention of the use of drugs. According to Brian Stevenson, the Executive Director of Equal Justice Initiative, Drug Policy, Criminal Justice, and Mass Imprisonment, criminalization has resulted in an increased use of harsh punitive sanctions imposed on drugs offenders and dramatic increase in rates of incarceration. He also continues to explain the drug policy and the incarceration of low-level drug offenders is the primary cause of mass incarceration in the United States. 40% of drug arrests are for simple possession of marijuana. This leads to a lot of arrests of many people, which puts a lot of people in jail, and that's what is basically happening right now. According to the War on Drugs Act, at a glance, there is a drug arrest every 19 seconds in the United States. Of more than 1.6 million drug arrests in 2009, 82% were for possession alone. The U.S. government estimates that more than 118 million Americans above the age of 12, 47% of the population, admit to using illegal drugs. 1 out of every 100 American adults is behind bars or in prison. So these statistics show that a lot of people are using drugs, a lot of people are committing drug-related drugs. So for me, instead of putting them in jail, or because most of the people that went to jail, it's really probable that they will go back to jail anyways. So my proposition for this is that the money that they're putting on the jails, because it takes a lot of money to take care of a person that's in jail. It's a lot of money, a lot of tax money that they're using to improve the conditions of the prisons, to feed them every day. It costs a lot of money to do that. My proposition will be that they use the money for prevention instead of for making laws or hiring more police officers to incarcerate those people, rather to use that for the prevention of drugs and to try to make it for programs or help those who have been in jail in the past to get them involved in some other activities so that they are more able to work or to find other alternatives rather than those people going back to jail. So again, my main claim is that the current drug policy making is leading to mass incarceration rather than reducing the crime. Thank you.
All right, Esmeralda, you do give us some background information as a lead into the subject to show some controversy. Your proposition, you state the claim, but it's a little complicated, and at the end of the speech you kind of have shifted into a policy claim, which is not really what you're supposed to be doing on this assignment. You do have a preview of the secondary points, but they are also a little bit vague. In fact, that first point, it's phrased in a very convoluted way, and I think it would be easier if you just simplified it, and that is, it comes down to basically the increased drug laws are political rather than practical. In other words, the goal is to advance somebody's political agenda rather than fixing a problem. And the only quote that you have on that, though, is a New York Times opinion piece that talks about that, and we don't get much data about what the changes in the laws have been. There's no data about whether or not drug use has gone up or down in relationship to those changes in the law. There's a hint that that might be what the data says, but it's not presented in that particular argument. The only data that we get later on is about the number of people who are arrested, the number of people who use drugs, and it was a little bit fuzzy on the number of people who are incarcerated. For instance, you mentioned that there were 1.6 million arrests on drug use, and that 40% of them, for instance, are for marijuana. The question then is, does an arrest equal incarceration? Just because you've arrested a lot of people, I don't know that that means that there is incarceration. If there are 1.6 million people who are arrested and 1 million of them go to jail and 600,000 of them get diversion programs, well, that sounds like there is a preponderance of incarceration. On the other hand, if we're arresting 1.6 million and only 200,000 of them are going to jail because they were committing other crimes along with using the drugs, for instance, selling it, transporting it, being part of a criminal organization to do those kinds of things, then it sounds like it's the opposite of that we really do have the right emphasis. And I just needed some numbers to justify the position that you're taking on that point. And that, I think, was the thing that was missing. I think I understood the argument that you're making, that we're expending a lot of resources on imprisonment. You need better evidence that says the imprisonment isn't working, and that in fact that it's the drug laws that are driving the number of people who are incarcerated. I don't even remember that we got a total on the number of people who are incarcerated, so except that we did have something that said 1 out of 100 Americans is in the criminal justice system in some way, shape, or form. That's the closest that you came to having something on that. The last argument basically says we should save our money and spend it another way, and that's a policy claim, so that doesn't really work for this assignment. All right, thank you.